right, I think start with announcements from Director Wysocki.
Excuse me,
That's
Chair.
quick.
Tamara,
Pardon me?
I still need to do roll call.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Yes. So not quite yet.
Commissioner Brzezowski,
Present.
Commissioner Ross,
Present.
Commissioner Ruda.
Here.
I just realized we're missing a name. Commissioner Burling. Here. Chair McKee.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, Director
Now I
Wysocki.
can talk. Thank you, Commissioners. First and foremost, for those of you, I'm sure you've seen emails, Javier Hernandez is no longer with Public Works. He moved on to City of Hollister to be their city engineer. So we wish him well and success. But we did hire recently, we had a position open, a project manager position open that we were recruiting for before we knew about Javier leaving. And we recently hired Cherie Carlette. She's got a master's degree in engineering, a lot of experience working for multiple agencies from City of Palo Alto, Gilroy, San Jose, the water agencies. Definitely has a lot of experience. She just started last week on Thursday. And I see some great promise of getting a lot of projects on track and over the hump that we have listed for us. But those are the two comments I have.
Did you want to go over the timeline
Oh, yeah.
at this time
We can go over the timeline.
for the Carmel Forest Master Plan?
You're talking about the master plan? Yeah. Let me pull up information on the timeline. Hold on, give me a second. First off, let me talk before I pull up the timeline on the master plan. As you know, we're going to be going and starting up getting our forest master plan to the finish line. And it's great appreciation and excitement that we're moving this forward. Just a little history, this collaborative effort that we've had has been done over several years. This plan was a product of years of thoughtful work and collaboration. We began in late 2021, led by the city's forester at that time. In 2022, the city announced had a contract with Davy Tree, which they did a data-driven canopy assessment and citywide inventory, which formed the backbone of this plan. In mid-2023, we welcomed Justin, is that right?
Yes.
Yep, as the new city's forester. And as everyone knows, Justin brings a deep education, knowledge, certifications, and years of arboricultural experience to carry this work forward. Over the last 3 years, we held multiple community workshops, including early visioning series and other draft reviews workshops in October of 2024. A community-wide survey in November of 2023 captured a lot of residents' priorities and concerns. And in November of 2024, an independent ecologist, Nikki, that we all know and love very well, reviewed the draft and provided further feedback. And of course, most recently, I jumped on board. I have a long background of ecosystem management, forestry, and arboriculture, and also how to see plans that are operational, not just words and nice, phrases in there, but how can staff see themselves in it and implement these plans. This is definitely a truly community-informed, science-based draft plan that embodies knowledge and dedication of many. The stuff that's been released so far is you might look small, but that's the meat of what is it we're going to do. Everything else that we're going to add to this is supports that, the meat. So you might see it and say, oh my God, it's only 14 pages. That's just the meat of what do we want to see of the forest going forward, and everything else is going to help support that we have in appendices. So why a master plan? I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir, but I just want to remind everyone, it's a long-term strategic roadmap. It sets a clear vision and measurable goals for our urban forest, from tree canopy coverage to wildfire resilience and climate adaptation. And it provides implementation tools and tracking metrics to guide city staff and private landowners and our partners for years to come. So Forest Master Plan is different than any other city plans. Unlike zoning ordinances and municipal codes, it's not regulatory by itself. It is a guide, a set of enforceable, it's not a set of enforceable laws. And unlike a single capital project plan, it spans decades. It helps us align budgets, operations, community engagement, well beyond any one project cycle. And unlike a general policy statement, it's a data-driven, actionable, and is actionable with specific goals, measurable targets, and annual reporting requirements. This plan will inform city decisions, budgets, and codes. Portions may be incorporated into the general plan or local coastal program, but today its strength is in its living, guiding framework. So how will this plan be used and measured? I hope I'm not rambling too much.
No, it's good background for everyone.
The draft plan provides a clear structure for implementation. It has goals and measurable objectives, from maintaining the canopy cover to integrating wildfire resiliency into our daily forestry practices. It has actions and tracking tools, including periodic assessments. We got a friend flying around here. Forest reports and transparent progress metrics. And also it has community engagement with education programs, volunteer coordination, and recognition like the Tree City USA. These elements will ensure that we can track progress publicly, adaptively manage challenges, and demonstrate results year after year. So as we move forward, I want to emphasize key points. All the heavy lifting, data collection, community engagement, expert review has been done. Our goal now is to fine-tune, not reinvent. We must avoid getting stuck in endless reanalysis or analysis paralysis or starting over. The steering committee will continue to play a vital role in reviewing this draft and shaping the final version. Our shared objective is to bring this plan to completion by early 2026. That means focusing on final refinements, ensuring clarity and alignment with city codes and budgets, and preparing for council adoption and implementation. So in closing, Carmel-by-the-Sea has long been known as a village and a forest by the sea. This master plan honors that legacy while confronting today's realities: aging trees, climate stress, wildfire risks, and development pressures, with clear and strategic accountability. Thanks every resident that's participated, commissioners, staff, consultants, and volunteers, everything that you guys have contributed. With our continued engagement and focus on results, we can complete and implement this plan on schedule, preserving Carmel's iconic forest for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director. Appreciate that history. Yeah. I don't know, we could use it. Thank you so much. That was very helpful, I know, especially for the new commissioners, to get a little bit of history on that. Okay, so moving to public appearances. Members of the public are entitled to speak on matters of municipal concern not on the agenda during public appearances. Each person's comments shall be limited to 3 minutes or as otherwise established by the chair. Persons are not required to provide their names. However, it is helpful for speakers to state their names so they may be identified in the minutes of the meeting. Under the Brown Act, public comment for matters on the agenda must relate to that agenda item, and public comments for matters not on the agenda must relate to the subject matter jurisdiction of this legislative body. If a member of the public attending the meeting remotely violates the Brown Act by failing to comply with these requirements of the Brown Act, then that speaker will be muted. With that, does anybody have any public comment? Hi, Melanie. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I was just wondering, can I make a few comments about the master plan since we didn't open it to the public, which I think we should have, in case anyone had any comments?
It is going to be opened to the public. Do we have an exact date?
Yeah, can I point that out? That was, I think, the only thing that Ken missed is on October 21st.
No, what I'm talking about is responding to some comments about this announcement on the agenda.
Yes, so the date, do we have our final date for when it can be accessed through the Pine Cone or the Friday letter?
We'll put it on the website tonight.
On the website, it's going on the website?
Yeah, well, there are just a
Tonight.
couple of things I wanted to say. One thing is, I was questioning why we're not going to have a steering committee meeting on this, and just some of the formattings to understand, because you're talking about a very short timeline between the 10th and the 21st, and nobody knows about this. And it wasn't on the website the last time I looked, and there's nothing in the context of public education that's gone on prior to this. So this is going to hit the public right in the face and then see, well, you know, by the time they pick up the document, by the time they read the document, they're not going to have any time to digest, and we've still got people on vacation. So I'm just thinking that without a steering committee meeting, without greater time for the public to review this, I think we're going to have a problem. And it was my understanding that we were going to have a greater time frame for review of all of this, because it is major to a lot of us. And so I would urge you to think about a greater review period for people, and give that some serious consideration, if you would. And then in this whole process, where does CEQA come in on this, Ken? You didn't mention that, and that's going to be a heavy thing. So I think it would be helpful if people understood exactly what's going on, because it's in the process, it's a little bit different now that it seems like we're not having a steering committee meeting, which, you know, we would normally all go to and listen to all of you and your comments and feedback and so forth, as well as a steering committee. So it seems like there's a big chunk being left out of this.
Can I address that really
Sure,
quickly?
sure.
Thank you very much. We are going to have a steering committee meeting, so this will be coming out on the website. You can access our current CFMP on the 10th,
Which is today,
tomorrow?
or today.
Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
because we're probably not get back to the office. It'll be posted tomorrow morning on the
okay.
website.
So it'll be released then, and our steering committee is meeting on October 21st from 10 a.m. until
Okay.
2 p.m. And so that will also be noticed. You're
that's
probably
good.
just a couple of hours in advance of all of that being released, but
that-
yes.
Okay, well, then it's my misunderstanding, because I thought you were going to start the public comment on the document itself.
No.
Well,
No.
well, see, that needs to be clarified, because I read it a couple of times, and I know a few other people have the same kind of impression, so
Thank you for
that is
clarifying.
fantastic, if that's what we're going to do. That's
Yes.
great. Very,
Yeah.
very good indeed. Thank you. Now,
It'll be in the Pine Cone tomorrow and on the vlog tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we'll go on the website tomorrow, and then there'll be 2 weeks before the October 21st meeting.
Okay,
And
that's-
then we'll use that feedback to get this is the initial draft, then we'll get a final draft, and then that will go for CEQA, and then that will be a formal public.
That's great.
Input.
That's great. And then,
I'm confused.
Did you want to say something, Kelly?
I just wanted to mention, Justin, you announced several meetings back that you've selected the CEQA reviewer. It's just not ready to give to them yet, right?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
you are, that was done a while ago,
Correct.
so
Yeah, we
there
have-
have been updates of,
I know, I've been
yeah.
here and I've heard them.
Judith is
But
under
that-
contract.
But that's me. Not everybody else in town sits at these meetings, you know?
Right. Melanie, thank
So-
you. As usual, you are right ahead of the curve, and you just caught us a couple of hours before everything was being released.
Yeah, well,
So, but it will be
I'm really
released.
thrilled that you're going to have the steering committee, because it really wasn't clear, and having talked to a couple of people, it wasn't clear to them either, so it wasn't just that I was, you know, I double-checked myself, is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. And then my public comment time, I just want to say one thing to the commission, but also to staff. I woke up to another chainsaw this morning, and I just, you know, it seems like PG&E and Comcast are going a little bit wacko in town. And my request to all of you would be that, could we make sure that we have some supervision going around to some of these things? Because there is an incredible pine tree on Carmelo, just a gorgeous tree. And here it is tagged to come down without any reason. And of course, it's PG&E, it's not us. And so my plea to the commission and to staff is to try to give some greater supervision to what Comcast and PG&E are doing, because there are a lot of people in town who are very upset about the way they're hacking up our trees and lack of cleanup.
Thank you, Melanie. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Sorry, we took up a couple of your seconds there, so I appreciate you wrapping it up. Thank you.
So Tamara, can I just get clarity? Because I was just looking at the invitation that Yvette sent out, and it says community meeting on the 21st.
Yes.
But that's
Community
not
steering
correct.
committee.
It's a steering committee meeting.
Yes, but the community can also attend.
And is that true for all
It's
steering
a
committee?
public,
Yes, it's a
correct,
public meeting.
correct.
Yvette, could we get the timer thing? It's what? Oh, I see. But then we can't see it.
It's
That's
right
not
there.
great.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's okay.
So that's how,
I,
that's how. they do
thank
this.
you. All
That
right,
means we have to
Cindy,
keep turning the head.
I know.
Good afternoon.
Good
Chairman
afternoon.
Key, members of the commission, city staff, my name is Cindy Lloyd. I hope I'm not stepping on Melanie's toes, but what I wanted to thank the Public Works Department, and everybody knows it's my favorite department, was the incredible work that's being done to probably thin out the trees and maybe even eliminate some of them. I tell you, when I drive from Carmel Woods into town, I love looking out at the hillsides that surround Carmel. And one of the things I always loved about growing up here was that we were nestled amongst mountains, not only trees. So that's all I really wanted to say, but thank you for doing what you do. Thank you very much, Ono, for all the work you do. And carry on.
Thank you, Cindy.
I'd like to add something to that, since both of us are old timers here and grew up here. The hills need to be remembered, the hills and the bay. So when we're thinking of trees, there needs to be views considered.
Thank you, thanks. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda.
We do have another public comment.
Oh, do we have public comment on,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Linda,
online?
go ahead. Linda, can you hear me? There you go.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so Linda Smith here, speaking on behalf of Monterey Pine Forest Watch, and as an old Carmelite, also a long timer, third generation. First of all, I want to make the comment that we live in a Monterey Pine Forest. The historic range of our local Monterey Pine Forest encompasses all of Carmel. The 3 stands of Monterey Pine Forest in California are considered rare and endangered by international organizations that monitor the state of the species and of animals and plants. In California, the California Coastal Commission, in its enforcement of the Coastal Act's protection of California's diverse natural ecosystems, utilizes both NatureServe and CNPS as expert sources to determine the status of species in California, and both organizations list Monterey Pine Forest as endangered. Deb Rogers, Dr. Deb Rogers of the Monterey Pine Ecological Cooperative, University of California, Davis, wrote in her guidance to us in the 2001 Forest Management Plan, which has been in the appendix unseen for these 20 years. She said, planted Monterey pines in urban environments will influence the genetic composition of nearby native forests through pollen and seed movement. Planted trees also can complement or detract from other processes and values of the native forest, i.e. wildlife habitat, soil composition, disease dynamics, depending on the specific decisions involved in planting projects. And she says, it's recommended that any practice that involves selective removal of Monterey pines or planting of trees be carefully planned and reviewed in the context of the overall long-term ecological and genetic consequences for Monterey pine forests. So, as I recall at our community meeting regarding the Davi consultant's draft FMP, we came to a consensus that it didn't meet our needs on several levels. It contained little historic or ecological context and proposed to treat our urbanized Monterey pine forest like a generic urban forest. The tree list that came with it reflected that intent in that the majority of trees proposed for Carmel were non-native species without any ecological rationale. We also determined that our present FMP had much of value and shouldn't be abandoned completely. If I'm not mistaken, we commissioned city consultant Nicole Nedeff, because of her ecological knowledge, to write a new draft that would incorporate that context into our update. And while I see a lot in this present draft that's been given to us that's really excellent, it contains little ecological information or context and education for people, because that is something that is so lacking in Carmel. It's like we just don't seem to realize that we sit in the middle of one of the world's most treasured and rare forest resources. So I don't see Nicole Nedeff's draft here, and I'm wondering if you could give it to us, at least the steering committee members, so that we can educate ourselves before we get together to talk and see what we might incorporate from it into this draft. And also,
Thank you, Linda. I'm going to need to ask you to just to wrap that up. I'm so sorry your time.
yes, and also I would recommend to everybody that you read our present forest management plan, because it was written by people who really understood and valued our urbanized Monterey pine forest, and it has a lot of good stuff in it that ought to remain in our current plan, added to, along with some additional ecological context. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Linda. Do we have anybody else, Yvette, online? No, not at this time. Okay. Anybody else in the audience? Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are routine in nature and do not require discussion or independent action. Members of the commission or the public may ask that any items be considered individually for purposes of board commission discussion and/or for public comment. Unless that is done, one motion may be used to adopt all recommended actions. And this month, we have approval of the meeting minutes from the August 7th, 2025 meeting. If I could get a motion, please.
Hi, I have a question for you. So does that include Ken's updates?
Yes, it
With-
should.
So
Yes.
I'd like to pull that and talk about that individually.
In the meeting minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Yvette, would you like us to go ahead and approve the rest of the minutes and then move on to what Neil would like to pull out? or-
You're saying that you have a question about the director's report, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
From
so you're
August?
just, we're just pulling.
No, the current director's.
Oh, this is meeting minutes from
Okay,
August.
I'm good with that.
Okay, okay,
So do you want to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve those.
okay.
I'll second.
I'll second, okay.
Who's second?
I'll second.
Harry.
Commissioner Burling,
Yes.
Commissioner Brzezowski,
Yes,
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Commissioner Ruda,
Yes.
Chair Mickey.
Yes.
Thank you, this motion is passed.
Okay. So moving on to our orders of business. Today we have a presentation by, is the presentation by you today, Mary?
It's actually Denise W. Associates.
Okay, I see that, okay. Okay, so by Denise Duffy and Associates on Year 9 Annual Monitoring Report of the North Dunes Habitat Restoration Project.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The Year 9 annual report for the North Dunes project is a requirement of the coastal development permit that we currently have in place. The coastal development permit expires in August of next year. And so Val and I are starting the process going on updating that CDP. And part of it will look at some of the requirements in the CDP that have worked over these years and some of them that haven't. So I'll be available to answer any questions, as well as John Wanke from Denise Duffy and Associates.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Perhaps need to open it first, or just say okay, yeah.
It's a pretty picture anyway.
Does the clock have it, Yvette, the speaker too?
Oh, there it goes. All right. Yeah, now, can I,
Or I think.
yeah. Okay, and then, here, I can. Okay.
I think you can use this. It should work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just the arrows?
Yep.
Cool. All right, thanks for your patience. And thanks for having me back again to present the Carmel North Dunes Restoration Project summary of monitoring and management activities over the past year. My name is John Wanke. I'm a senior environmental scientist at Denise Duffy and Associates. So let's see if I can get this next slide to advance here. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and do this. Okay, so over the past year, the roles and responsibilities out at North Dunes have not changed. DD&A is responsible for the annual monitoring component, where we evaluate native and non-native plant cover in the spring. We survey the Tidstrom's lupin population throughout North Dunes, which, as you know, is a state and federal endangered plant species. So we have a very unique occurrence here in Carmel of that plant. We also monitor the native plants that occur, that's plant species richness out at North Dunes. And we coordinate with Joey Canepa of Native Solutions to compile and summarize the maintenance activities that have been happening over the past year with volunteers and city staff and city contractors. And as Mary indicated, we also have prepared the annual monitoring report. And in addition, I perform periodic maintenance inspections of the North Dunes site every 2 months or so and communicate my findings and recommendations to Justin and Mary and Val. Native Solutions, they've been continuing to coordinate and oversee the volunteer program, which is fantastic. That has been primarily control of invasive non-native plant species over the past year, and some environmental education because they work with high school students frequently. This also says planting. I don't think they did much planting this past year, but they may have done some with Carmel Garden Club. So just a couple pictures of the ice plant removal in progress. Joey Canepa worked a lot with Carmel Garden Club as usual. I know that she had some volunteer events with Carmel High School students, Stevenson School students, and some Santa Lucia Conservancy staff. Just as an estimate, I think that they have probably removed at least a ton of weeds by hand over the past year. So a really valuable effort there as usual. And it's great that it's still happening. This past year, a lot of progress was made with the city contractor and I think some city staff sort of increasing the level of effort in the weed control. Last year, I reported that I felt like a lot of the restored areas were getting reinvaded with a couple species of ice plant, and it's recommended that we sort of up the level of effort, and that happened this past year, which I think had a really positive impact. And I'll show a map and some additional photos. We also did some acacia trimming along the bluff in the vicinity of the 4th Avenue stairs. This photo in the lower right shows roughly where that occurred. And there was also some acacia removed from the dune area, just landward of that. I think maybe about 100 feet or so of that acacia was trimmed for viewshed reasons. I think it was a pretty difficult task, which is why only that segment was done. And then we don't know for sure, we don't have a really tight estimate on how much weight or yardage of ice plant was removed, but I think it was pretty significant. I'm guessing about 40 cubic yards. It could be more. Just a couple photos here of the ice plant removal getting loaded into the truck by the contractor. And the two photos on the right, these were areas that were pretty badly reinvaded by narrowleaf ice plant and the highway ice plant that everybody knows. But in these photos, they're looking really clean. The top right photo is near the volleyball courts, and the lower right photo is kind of a swale area there adjacent to the Del Mar parking lot. This map shows in the blue the areas where we really upped the level of effort on the ice plant control. There's still a lot of narrow leaf and highway ice plant in these red areas in the northern half of the North Dunes site. There's also a lot of acacia that has really been expanding in those sort of chartreuse colored areas. So hopefully, those are labeled 2026 ? Hopefully we can continue the level of effort and just move into those northern areas this year. In the spring, this past May, I led the estimate of native and non-native cover and also the tide streams loop and count. We sample 18 fixed transects, and they're shown here for native and non-native plant species cover. There are goals that we are striving to meet that are defined in the restoration plan. The goal for native cover is greater than 50%. That's in the green line on this graph. And the goal for non-native cover is less than 10%, which is the orange line on this graph. Past year, the native cover, we found that it was essentially unchanged from the previous year, went up 2%, so that's basically just stable. We are meeting the success criteria of greater than 50%. Last year, we were not meeting the non-native success criteria because we measured it at 16%. This year, we dropped to 9%. That's probably a function of the increased weed control effort, but also the weather pattern that we had this past year. We had a drier year, which can result in less of the annual weed growth like the non-native grasses. This map shows the occurrences of tide streams of lupin. No changes this year in terms of where it occurs. We found it in all the places where it's been found before. We did find that the overall numbers have decreased from the previous year. And it's mainly due to a drop in seedlings in the area that's labeled Nat W on the screen, which is the main occurrence over by the boardwalk. A couple of the other locations, the one near Sand and Sea and then the one over by San Antonio, the count actually increased in those areas. This graph shows the tide streams lupin census results over the entire term of the monitoring. So you can see we dropped from 583 plants last year down to 472 this year. Overall, since the beginning of the project, we've got an increasing trend, but yeah, there's been some fluctuations and a pretty significant decrease in the last, 10 years or so. So there could be a number of reasons why we saw that this year. Like I mentioned, it could have something to do with the weather pattern. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service actually cites annual fluctuations in precipitation as a threat to this species. So this bar chart in the bottom left shows the rainfall we had last year, the monthly rainfall. So we had a good amount of rain in November and December, germinated the seeds that were in the seed bank, and they started to grow, like this one on the right here. That's a tiny tide streams lupin seedling from North Dunes. Then in January, we had basically no rain, which could definitely negatively impact the number of seedlings that we would see. And then this picture on the upper left is that's when we did the count. We flag every single plant. So it's a complete census. And the reason for the flags is to make sure that we've counted every plant and we're not double counting plants. And then we take all the flags out when we're done. In terms of recommendations, I think I'm really happy with how things went last year, and I'm hoping that we could just continue what we're doing and move into the northern half of the site. I know that the volunteer program is still underway. I see evidence of work going on out there. In fact, this past week I saw some piles of ice plant. So it's great that that's continuing to happen. It'd be fantastic to do a pass-through of the areas in the southern half of the site where we did a concerted effort last year just to make sure that any new seedlings coming up get removed, and then prioritize increased ice plant removal and hopefully acacia removal in the northern central part of the site over by the boardwalk and the 4th Avenue drainage. just to illustrate that the acacia that I'm complaining about, this top photo is from 2023. There's a mixture of vegetation there, but a lot of those shrubby tree-like plants are Sydney golden wattle and plume acacia. And then in 2025, photo taken from a similar angle, you can sort of get a feel for how it's grown. I think ideally all of the acacia should be removed from the central part of North Dunes. It would open up the views and it would just be better for the habitat. And honestly, it's starting to move closer and closer to the tide streams, the main tide streams lupin currents. So that has potential to negatively impact that location. So yeah, that's the summary of the past year at North Dunes. Thanks for listening. Any questions, let me know. Sure.
The map that had the 2024, 2025, 2026 effort, I'm just curious why you didn't flip it? Because as I understood from the previous couple of years when this has been presented, the largest amount of tide streams lupin is up near the 4th Street stairs.
Right.
In that area. And I've over the last couple of years, you've said the ice plant is so bad. I mean, like, it was interesting when you were talking about the ice plant. I see the ice plant is all over that area.
Yeah.
And the combination of the ice plant and acacia, where you have your largest volume of plants, like, why wouldn't that have been the priority for 2025 and it be flipped, right? Like, or how do we make sure that you're able to apply that effort in 2026? Because that's really what's keeping the plant there.
Yeah.
Is that colony.
Right. Well, I mean, I think the recommendation.
The numbers of where the plants, I think that was like 350, like 360 of them are up there, right?
At the boardwalk site?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the main occurrence. And I think the recommendation in the previous report was to prioritize ice plant removal in that area. I think that this was just what they were able to get done this past year. And they started closer to Ocean Avenue for access reasons and also we were under the impression, I've always been under the impression that this would sort of be a multi-year effort. So yeah, I mean, I guess ideally it would have been good if we started in the northern half, as you point out, but that's just not what happened.
Okay. And what Mary was saying about that, or Mary, you said something's expiring next August? Like, are we at any risk of not getting the designation again?
No, so we have a coastal development permit that is for the restoration efforts. And we had one that started in 2016, and then we got an extension in 2021, and it's only a 5-year coastal development permit. So, you know, I'm sure the Coastal Commission or our Planning Commission, who acts as our Coastal Commission, will be happy with these restoration efforts to continue. Okay. So that's why we're kind of getting an early start and then going to work with John and Joey and kind of get good ideas for what we can do in the next years to come.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
And if you could put up I think it's figure 4 in my book, it's got the percentage of native cover and percentage of non-native cover. It's a graph.
That one?
Yeah. This is just history for me because haven't been involved my first time on this, but from the start of it, from 17, 18, we're 51%, and then the native cover jumped way up consistently to 77%, and then something happened that we dropped down to 54 and 56%. And the non-native cover stayed, it doesn't relate. Like, we didn't get more non-native cover, didn't wipe out the native cover, you can't see that. But what happened between 21-22 and 23-24, where it went from 77% native cover to 54% native cover?
Right. So this is probably, I can't say for sure, but my guess would be that what we saw was when the initial invasive non-native removal happened and the planting occurred, we experienced a lot, or the site experienced a lot of recruitment of like more pioneer type native plant species. These are species that are shorter lived. They tend to move into a disturbed area.
Okay, but they're native.
But they're native.
So they count under that graph?
Yeah, and so this is very common. There's a couple species that were at North Dunes in a higher quantity back around that time that aren't as abundant now. Just because, like I said, they're short-lived. And so you get this flush of pioneer species, and then eventually they'll die off and start to get replaced with slower growing, longer lived plants. So, I mean, it's natural to see kind of a fluctuation in native cover at a restoration site. And I say it's disturbance because removal of all the ice plant is a disturbance. I did not collect the data prior to 2023, so I wasn't there to collect that data. So, the best I can do is to look at it and try to figure out what happened.
So just in the same note, so I understand, so on the bottom graph, if I read that right, we're not making a lot of progress in getting rid of non-native cover, just looking at that graph. It's went way up, but that's about the same level since 2020. So for about the last 4 or 5 years, it's been about the same.
It's been about the same.
Is that just, we're just trying to push the rock up a hill? Is that just, we're not keeping up, or?
Well, I mean, non-native cover less than 10% is great. Oftentimes, if this was a mitigation project and the Coastal Commission was, really looking at it closely, they would probably be happy with less than 10%. They might want to see even better performance. So, I mean, the fact that we got it from 45 and 29, that spike down to where it is now is great. But yeah, to your point, ideally, it would be more like less than 5. And that's part of the reason for this increased maintenance effort that I've sort of been recommending.
Well, that's why I'm kind of asking, because if I look at that graph, it seems like, and I look at the previous map, we shouldn't be happy. If I look at the map that says there's still some very overgrown parts with ice plant, even though it says it's less than 9%.
We're not as happy as we
shouldn't be happy.
Yeah.
So that's, and got one more question, 2 graphs down, I think it's 5.3 on the Tidestrom's lupine. Well, again, what happened between 2020 and 2024 that we dropped off so dramatically, even from 2018 to now, where it's literally half of what it was in 2020? And again, I can't, the rainfall doesn't seem to explain it. What's happening? And a dumb question, can we physically replant this stuff, or do we completely depend on it just regenerating?
Yeah, so this is a much more difficult question to answer. I cannot tell you the real reason why it went from 1,300 down to what it is now. I think actually rainfall patterns does explain a lot of it, because we do count seedlings. It's not just mature plants in these numbers. So if you get a couple of funky years where the rainfall pattern doesn't cooperate, you could see a big drop in the plant numbers. And in fact, we saw that, our company saw that at other sites this past year where we monitor rare endangered plants. We saw a big drop in the numbers. And, I mean, I think that a dry January could explain some of that. Now, does it explain 1,300 down to 472? Probably not. It's probably just part of it. There could be like rodent or animals that are eating seeds or eating plants. I didn't see a lot of really obvious evidence of that, but that's another possibility, and something that is certainly could affect the population. I think that trampling can have an effect. It's hard to say how much, but I know that when we were out there doing the census this past spring, I just saw a lot of dog footprints throughout the area. So that's a possibility that that could have a negative impact on it. You can propagate and outplant this species. It's quite difficult to do, and I know that Joey Canepa has done some of that and had some pretty lousy results out of this.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, John or I we weren't
Yeah.
here back then, but I know Joey was making a concerted effort to plant a lot of seedlings. And do you have to have a permit to do that as
Yes.
well? Yeah, so Joey, I believe, still has a permit.
Hers expired.
Oh, her permit expired, because it's a very specific permit through.
Who's it from?
Joey Canepa, so with Native Solutions,
Uh-huh.
she was the person that currently is managing the volunteers efforts. But prior to that, she was doing the whole thing as well as the annual reports. And she had a permit for these species, but it sounds like her permit has expired. And so the actual effort to be putting in new lupin seedlings are not, it's not currently happening.
Who issues the permit for that?
I think it's CDFW.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess my question gets down to, when do you push the panic button on this? Because it's going way down. At what point do we say, uh-oh,
Yeah.
we're not replacing this to the level,
Well,
it's not coming, but at what point do we
I
say?
think that's something that, as we go through the new coastal development permit, we will look at what's historically happened, and we'll see if our goals were too high for repopulating that species, and kind of look and see if, we need to change our parameters on what the expectations are for the species. And, we'll get input from John as well as Joey Canepa and other biologists that are familiar with the dune restoration to, figure out if the seedling planting is really worth the effort that was made.
I had a question on the ice plant, because I seem to recall that that's a real, contraindicated plant in this area for this type. The ice plant, if the ice plant is there, that this basically won't thrive. It won't, it's itty bitty, right? These are really small plants.
Yeah,
Did I remember that
there's the
correctly?
narrow leaf ice
Yeah.
plant, and then you probably can speak to it better than I can. There's two different species of the ice plant, but.
But there was a huge effort over the past 2 years,
Uh-huh.
and I know by the boardwalk where the largest colony is harder to access. I know Justin has talked about how heavy it is to haul out of there, it's
Yes.
super heavy and et cetera.
Right.
But that, it seems like, it'd be interesting to see in next year's report, in the areas where you cleared the ice plant this year, where you had smaller colonies, are they doing better as a result of that ice plant being gone? 'Cause
Yeah, I
certainly
mean,
in
I
that
think
area where the largest colony is, there's ice plant.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to
that area.
maintain, to make sure, because every time you go out there, there's new ones popping up everywhere. So it's really, as long as we can have the volunteers continue with their efforts, that's the most helpful thing. I mean, we do get the contractors as well as the city staff out there to do big efforts, but it's really a lot of the volunteers that are familiar with it and can really help maintain it. That's, I think, really useful as well.
So I'm just kind of curious on the ice plant issue, right? Because I walked down there, and north of the boardwalk, it's like, the barbarians are at the gate, right?
Yep.
And it seems common sense that, because ice plant just takes over everything, right? And if it's growing somewhere, it's to the exclusion of everything else. And so I guess my question really is, we're at year 9 of 10, right? And so we're going to put a plan together going forward. Are we basically saying we're restoring the North Dunes or not at that high level, right? And then are we going to have a plan in place that says, yes, we are, and therefore this is what we need to do. And I'm kind of curious about if ice plant is the main character in terms of preventing, the native species to thrive, what's the plan to get rid of it, including north of the boardwalk? Because, and I don't know, is it a rhizome? Does it like grow underneath kind of like Bermuda grass?
I think it is.
So
yeah.
it can grow underneath probably the boardwalk, right? And it can kind of get in underneath there.
It's not quite like Bermuda grass. You can pull out the roots. The narrowleaf ice plant has a tap root.
Okay.
That's difficult to get out, but you can get it out. And the highway ice plant, it's not a rhizome. You can completely remove it.
Okay.
It's just the seedlings that come back. You just have to stay on top of it
Right.
continually, and without that follow up, it's highly likely it will reinvade. It's not that we're doing something wrong or incorrectly. It's just
Yeah, it's an invasive
Yeah.
plant, yeah. I guess I'm just asking, can we have a plan put in place if the goal is to restore the North Dunes, to look at where all the ice plant is growing and say, yes, we're gonna get rid of all of it, and here's kind of how we're gonna approach over the next 3 to 5 years. That's kind of my comment. I don't know who that goes to. Maybe it goes to you, Ken.
Well, and I kind of look at the goals for even year 10 and 11 and 12 then, to say, is it real, all that comes at a cost, right? If we accelerate getting out ice plants, it's gonna cost something. If we say we want it out next year, sure, we can do that, but it costs a lot of money. So
Right.
I think that would also be kind of helpful to understand a little bit, is if we say it's a problem and we need to accelerate, and we're kind of relying on volunteers, and that's not getting us out fast enough, what's it gonna take? And I don't know, I look at things like, we might have to go to the city council, or we look at our budget, do we try and get a grant to take this out? And I don't know who would do that, it's not my expertise, but do we go to whoever and say, we need a grant? If we got a grant, we'll get it out in 2 years. I don't know any of that, but it feels like, is there some urgency on this, as Neil said, to say, what's the plan of really getting it to where it's supposed to be? And so it feels like we're treading water a little bit, and Justin, you guys are working hard, and, it feels like when there's money, we work as hard as we can, we put resources on it. When there's not, we don't. How do we really address this and say, let's go?
Yeah, maybe it's like we put the huge effort to get rid of all the ice plant in the area as much as we possibly can, and then it becomes more of a maintenance, right, where it starts popping up in small bits. It's easier to take care of that as opposed to just like Commissioner Ross just said, pulling one onesie-twosie and it just, you're plugging holes in the dam. Yeah.
Have our volunteer hours changed for this in the last year or so?
the volunteer hours, the level of effort has not substantially changed, but as I indicated, there was significantly more effort put into contractor labor to remove the ice plant in that southern half of North Dunes. So I think that is the key. It's like you're saying, like we need to hit it hard for 3 years, and then after that it's going to cost less, but you can't drop below like some minimum level, and which is what happened basically. Yeah. That's why we started to see the ice plant reinvade. So just the volunteer effort wasn't quite enough by itself.
So what would you recommend then, so we can get to that point over the next 2 or 3 years?
I would recommend, I mean, to the extent that you can, like allocating at least as much funding to hiring a contractor or contractor and city staff to keep that level of effort up for whatever it takes. It probably is going to take another 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah. But then at the same time, you keep the volunteer program going, you know, and work on, because they tend to focus on certain little areas. I'm not saying that Joey Knuppet isn't looking at the whole site, she is, but the volunteers can only handle so much.
But can they be directed into the areas that are most important, right? As opposed to like tending an area that they, like is there if people understood like where the highest priority areas would the volunteers go work in that area, or do they just work in their
Yeah,
plots?
I'm not sure that, I think that we have to have a site-wide kind of holistic approach to it, where we let the volunteers do what's appropriate for volunteers, keep doing that, but we need to hire additional labor to just cover everything. Whether there's tide streams loop in there or not, like everything that's been restored.
Can we do some basic math, like look at what we've pulled in the past, right? And go, okay, we took out
A ton.
a 20 by 20 yard area, and it took 25 people, 100 hours, I don't know, making this up,
Right.
right? And go, okay, now let's go, measure what is left in terms of the ice plant-ish. And then we kind of have a rough estimate, and we can kind of say, this is how much it's gonna cost, and then we can kind of go, to the city council,
how do we
promote
fund
it, and
it?
ask for more
Right.
money.
You have talked about that in the past too.
Yeah.
You've talked about the tonnage and what we pulled. What do you see as our needs with regards to that?
Well,
Man-hours and,
I don't know how much money you spent on the contractors this past year to address these blue areas, but you could look at what that cost and the square footage or something like that, and come up with a price per square foot, and then apply that to the remaining red areas. The acacia would be separate because it's sort of a different beast. But, I mean, that's what State Parks does, like, say, over to Sillamar or something. They've eradicated the ice plant from those areas, but they're still out there every year addressing the little patches that pop up here and there. So that's just the point we need to get to here, where we can get it all out again and stay on top of it.
Ken, would the cruise?
Commissioner Brzezowski, can you please speak in your microphone? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, the crews that were mentioned by, that are doing some of the CAL FIRE work in the region, would those crews be appropriate for something like this? Because it would be contained and,
Yeah,
and
most of
they're
that,
much lower
that CAL
cost,
FIRE,
right?
that special, tell them I'm busy. The CAL FIRE crews focus on fuel reduction, and this is not considered a
Okay,
fuels type
okay,
of work, yeah.
Okay. I was thinking they're low cost, right? That was
Right.
So if you're going to prioritize, look at this map here, would it be really the red area, probably number one, let's get rid of the ice plant, and maybe number two is the acacia? Or is the acacia more important than the ice plant?
I think I would get rid of the ice plant first, and the volunteer crews are already working in this red area, just of their own, judgment. But, so I'm happy with where they're doing the work, but, we want to get all the ice plant out that's around that boardwalk area.
Yeah.
And then tackle the acacia.
So how do we come up with something that says we can do that? I mean, what would be putting together a plan that says it's going to cost this much? It's
Exactly,
going to take
the
this.
cost, because we're spreading the dollars that Justin gets for, and Mary gets for work on multiple things, and this is one piece, so how do we manage? So first and foremost is, what is that cost? And get
That would be
assessed.
really
And then we
helpful,
can work
right.
backwards from there, how do we fund it? And what do we move around, or what do we request from the council?
Or from a grant, again. I always
Grants, correct.
Come out to that.
Correct, exactly.
Again, I don't know who fills out that paperwork, but it seems
know. I
like
wish we had a
Mission
grant
Trails
writer.
could get some money and Carmel Cares gets this money. This would be seems like it'd be a great project for some kind of grant.
kind of.
And
help
it's
out.
an ongoing, so as,
I don't want to pull the
one.
money out of something else to do this. That's not the goal on this, to me, is
Exactly.
if we could identify how much this costs and then try and see how we address that as a separate issue from, so it doesn't come out of Justin's budget somewhere else, just because this is a shinier thing. That wouldn't be my goal.
If we can look at the 2025 costs, like you mentioned, and what that covered, and then perhaps apply it to the 2026, knowing what we need to
Yeah,
have.
that'd be a good place to start, I think.
Yeah.
So would that be something that comes back to us? How would that work? Would they put together kind of a proposal and then it comes back to us? How does it kind of work?
No, I mean, it doesn't have to come back to you for approval or anything like that. right now what I'm hearing from the commission is you'd like us to investigate, what can we do? And then what we could do is just report it, what we can do and when we can do, make a plan, the plan itself, but we don't need like approval going forward.
I also think just raising the priority, right? Because I think in the past, this has been more of a, I don't want to say hobby disparagingly, but it's been more volunteer effort that's come in, that's sort of done, and we've done the best we can with the resources available across the time periods, right? And the contractors getting involved is relatively new, right, Justin, in terms of significant amount of effort. And I think that was in response to probably the reporting last year, right, where some of the non-native was getting a little out of control, and the ice plant, we see it everywhere, right? So I think just recognizing historically that I think that it's new, that the city is getting proactively involved in managing this area. It really requires like a champion, because I think if whoever the people are that are the keepers of the Tidstrom's lupin in the state or the US, if they knew we had this number of plants and this amount of, there may be, like you're saying, Harry, grant money to go support efforts to maintain that. But someone has to be, and this is against the backdrop, I think, of everything that you, like, Justin, it would be hard to add this to your list, for example.
I mean, we did
Right.
all that blue in the bottom in like about 3 weeks, so it's not hard. We just gotta point them and get them to do it. But it is coming out of the landscape budget, and with the way the city's going, landscaping is almost more important than trees, because everything has to look so perfect. So we have some money that's allocated, and I know Mary has some money, or she did last year, so I don't wanna speak for Mary's budget. But we can find money, and and the guys can go out there. They did about 10 tons in a week or a week, 2 weeks, so
I mean, it almost sounds like this would be an incredible internship for somebody that's in school and studying these kinds of managing.
CSUMB or something?
Yeah, so somebody that was interested in researching, are there grant options available? What would they look like? How much money would they support ongoing, right? Like, this seems like a project that I guess, Mary, would be in your area, but for you to manage somebody like that, right? I just think that it seems like with someone, without a champion and without somebody who would take a deep dive in researching what the grant possibilities might be, right?
Can we turn the 10-ton metric into a dimensional metric? Because then we could go out with a measuring tape and measure, I mean, I'm being serious, right? We can measure what's still out there. And if we understand what 10 tons is, then we can kind of figure out this is what it's going to take. This 10 tons doesn't tell me anything.
it's what he said, that it was about 10 tons. I don't recall how big it was.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I have some information like that, not on the tip of my tongue, but like, here's what a solid mat weighs, like 100 square feet of it or whatever. And yeah, we could do something like that, for sure.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I think even Carmel Cares might have some data, because didn't they do I think they did some of the.
They did.
Last spring, or remember they came out with all the pictures of all the garbage bags and the trucks, and I think.
Are they still involved as a volunteer, Carmel Cares?
Carmel Cares, I do not know. Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that recently Carmel Cares had organized Robert Louis Stevenson School to come out maybe a month ago or something. So they're still involved. They're still part of the volunteer effort. And Joey Canepa is working with Carmel Cares on management of that. So she keeps track of it. Yeah.
Thank you.
I just want to say, Justin, you do a lot with what resources you have. I really appreciate that. So when I talk about this, it's not to try and spread more out of what you get necessarily. If you can readjust little things, great. But what I'm talking about is, do we understand what it would take to really eradicate it? What does that cost? How do we fund it correctly so that we're not stealing from this budget a little, I mean, we may have to do a little bit of that. It'd be nice to understand, how do we not have to have you do that? Because you guys, you work hard and you're doing a lot, so it'll just stop something else from getting done. And I think that would be my goal, not that we're, taking it from somewhere else to kind of squeeze it in. And Carmel Cares is great at grants. They're great at getting grants.
It's true. Where's our Karma Cares rep?
I know.
Let's move on. Okay. Before we take it to the public, does anybody have anything else to say? Okay. Excellent questions and comments.
I actually had one final question,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I'm sorry to beat
No.
the dead horse. So I'm just kind of curious, and this is kind of the inverse, the 45% spike in non-native species, was there any correlation to that, like, you know, higher rain or something like that that caused it? In 2018?
Yeah, I mean, there was, right, 2017 was a huge rain year, and I think 2018 was pretty big too.
It was.
Yeah, so the fact that it went from 14 to 45, that's probably mostly annual, non-native annual grasses and things like oxalis that really get thick when there's a lot of rain. So, yeah, that'd be my guess.
Okay, and it's unfortunate that we don't have data in 2022, 2023, because I think that looks like a gray bar to me, I'm sorry. That's the highest rainfall amount. It'd be interesting to know if there's a correlation there.
Yeah, just, it wasn't monitored.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, so go ahead.
Thank you so much. See if we have anybody in the public that would like to make a comment? Or anybody online?
Not at this time.
Okay. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate that, and Mary too for stepping up with that. Okay, we are going to go to the Tree Fine Ad Hoc Committee. I could probably go ahead and start that. The Forest and Beach Commission had put together an ad hoc committee for tree protection fines this last month, and we met for the first time on September 16th. Met with Justin, myself, and Commissioner Ruda had met, and we put together our scope of work that we'd like to present to the commission and to the public for feedback. This, again, is to address tree protection fines, and what we're looking at doing is creating an updated and enforceable tree protection fine schedule. Our current one's very outdated. Updating tree-related codes, fine structures to support proactive forest management and accountability, review existing tree removal and damage fines, compare with regional best practices, and we propose updated fine structures for unauthorized tree removal, pruning or topping, construction tree damage or death, failure to comply with replanting requirements, and residential and city-owned tree violations. We're talking about where we're looking at including escalation for repeat offenders, fine range, and we have not begun our best practices search yet. We essentially, in our last meeting, just put this together and had finalized that, and we'd like to present it to the city and to the commission for any feedback that they may have and any other areas that they may want us to look into. So with that, I'd like to start with our commission. See if there's anything they would like to.
Let me pull it up.
Mhm. While we're looking at that, our timeline for this, we're hoping to achieve this in the next 4 months. So starting September being our first month with fine review. I believe Justin and perhaps Neil may have some other input once we pull it up.
So are you considering every single tree, or are you considering the main trees that we want? Because there's a lot of scrub trees that people take care of, whether they want them just to be, cover some green area.
Are you talking about trees that are on private property?
Yes, any tree, whether it's, I mean,
I think what we're looking at, so our current fine structure that we have, we want to build on that. Our current fines, as you know, are very low. So I'm going to let Justin address some of the tree questions, the tree-specific questions right now. At this point, our ad hoc committee has really been looking at our scope of work and wanted to get the feedback on the scope of work. So we have looked at things and the terms, and I can let Justin speak to that about what our more protected trees are versus just trees that,
Right now, the trees protected by code are the native trees, pine, cypress, oaks, redwoods, native trees larger than 6 inches, and every other tree larger than 10 inches. And this is for all protected trees.
Say that again.
Native trees larger than 6 inches are protected by code, and
Okay,
non-native trees larger
native
than
trees.
10 inches.
Oh,
So I guess, to me, when I go through the forest master plan, this could be part of it. It's part of the review of city codes regarding all this, right? Is one of the call-outs on there. And it feels like there's, so I have a lot of questions about what happens in a situation where someone wants to do a development and for some reason, it doesn't make sense to replant a tree in that lot. So it does, either from, it just doesn't make sense. So
Are you talking about?
let's say someone wants to redo
illegally removed?
construction. No. Someone
that's
wants
not
to
what we're
build a new
addressing
house on a
in this.
lot. Well, I guess that's so this gets back to me a little bit about, one of the things I read in a lot of the tree master plans for different cities is that they use different methods to create a fund for trees. And some of that is fines like this. Where would these fines go? When they are. Is there some way to use development in lieu of type things to, again, put money into a tree fund?
There is, in the code.
And would that be part of what you guys are looking at here?
Not now.
My comment on the scope is that you also think about implementation, because I think there is this fines area is not isolated to one thing. Like, for example, is there pickleball or is there not pickleball, right? That's maybe a big decision, but it's a fixed decision, right? It's a specific thing. And I think there's a broad amount of area that you could cover here, and that the broader it gets in terms of the fine structure. So I would just say, from an implementation perspective, maybe look at what are the things that you think could be addressed in like an emergency ordinance or a regular ordinance that could actually pass and get implemented and start getting us on the right footing sooner rather than later. And maybe you identify 12 things, right? But you're going to come back with a recommendation on here's the 3 that we want to just wrestle to the ground now. And then here's the other, 9 that our plan for that is to address those through the forest master plan or a follow-on ordinance in 6 months, et cetera. Because I think what we're really trying to do is update some really outdated fines that we have in the city. And the faster we can do that on the most important fines, the better. So you point made, right? If you come up with 15, find out which are the ones that we can really act on, and it would be fantastic to see early next year, if city council ahead of next year's budget review could actually have maybe either a regular or emergency ordinance on a couple of these, and then you weave the rest of them into the city budget cycle. My fear is if it gets too big, that city council's going to have a hard time moving
forward on it. I think that emergency ordinance is going to be used a lot in the upcoming years. So we do hope to have this done by the 1st of next year. So we're hoping we don't have too long to wait, but that's a great example if it is taking too long for us to be able to get, because I know you had mentioned that a couple of months ago, at least, can we look at the $250 and $500 fine? And so that's something that we can also look at if we feel as though things might take longer, just at least get a couple of the more important fines changed in an emergency order. That's something we can consider.
And this will need to pass before the planning commission as well, too.
Pardon me?
This needs to go to planning commission as
Exactly.
well, too.
Right.
But I think traction, taking one or two down will make it easier to then do the rest. Right now, we kind of get stuck in studying things, right? And if you take 6 things to city council, they could spend, I'm not being disparaging of city council, but they could spend more time analyzing each of those
Right.
options, and it would hold up getting a couple through quickly.
Right. It's a good point. It's a good point. Anything else? Anything, no? Did you have anything, Neil? No?
You also included, I think it was in the, incentives for people doing the right thing with trees. Like, for example, are we doing enough with, are our fines too high in some areas? Dead trees, deferred maintenance, those kind of things. That's in here, right? Yeah, so that, it's not really a fine, it's a, looking at our current fee structure, because we may be able,
I think that's in the master.
yeah. It's not assessing a penalty, it's maybe reducing something that's in our current schedule.
It seems to me that
Yeah,
it's,
that's why I asked them to
that
add
we
it.
may want something different for our native trees than trees that maybe people experiment with thinking it's going to be great and realize they don't like the tree or it doesn't fit the area.
That does come up a lot in a lot of places. And
What'd you say?
that comes up a lot in other ordinances, and that's definitely something to look at. And even certain places have specific species that are unwanted, that are carte blanche to just
And you
eradicate.
don't think they're unwanted when you plant them, but
Yeah, someone maybe really like certain
they
invasive
turn out to
species.
be, yeah.
And if those are caught, Justin, before they grow to a certain size, like past 6 inches, if that's caught at an earlier stage, can they just be taken down by a
Oh, yeah.
homeowner, for
Non-native are
example?
10 inches,
If it's
so
a
that's pretty
non-native, they can
big.
just, okay. So that might not even fall into, if they're caught early enough.
Non-native as opposed to.
Yeah, okay. Before I take it to the public, anybody else have any other questions or comments? Okay. Would the public like to speak on this? Does anybody have anything to say?
Are you looking straight at me?
Well, I thought you might have something to say, Melanie.
Well, I think
Yeah.
you guys have done a great job in a very short period of time. And I don't know if you all remember, but I certainly remember the 2 occasions in which we were very frustrated with the fee schedule that we have right now. And had some really egregious activity going on. Thank you. And I don't think it's time for you to slow down your efforts right now. You've gotten a lot accomplished. You've done a beautiful job so far, the 3 of you. And I think you just need to push on, recognizing that the commission has a time constraint that they're concerned about. And I don't think you should worry particularly about next year's budget. Just work now diligently to get this done if you can by the end of the year. And seeing your energy and what you've already accomplished, it looks very doable for you to do that. And I think that people are going to be very thankful for it. And it's going to send a really strong message because there's really some really rather egregious things, there are egregious things going on in town. And people aren't responding to the city the way they should. And if we are really concerned about doing the right thing, then we should have the laws and the repercussions for violations commensurate with the importance and values of the community. And I think you've really hit on it here. And the one caution I would make is that some of the communities on the peninsula don't care about their forest or don't have a forest. And so you need to be careful about giving them more weight than we should because of their particular attitude towards trees. I mean, like, for instance, Seaside, I don't know if you've looked at them, but I would say, forget it. It's not something that's equatable. So I just thank you very much for doing what you're doing, and just keep struggling along and work equally as hard as you're doing.
Thank you, Melanie.
Okay?
Thank
Thanks.
Anybody else? Online?
John, go ahead. John, can you hear me?
John? Did you have something to say?
John, we're unable to hear you. If you can unmute. Let's just move
Okay.
on.
Nope. Yeah, okay.
Well, I have one other thing to say, and, I think it's really important to remember that not all parts of Carmel are the same. Not all parts of Carmel are covered with trees, and there's the very open places. And one of the things we have lost in Carmel is views. There used to be a beautiful view going down Ocean Avenue of the ocean. And gradually, and it was mostly when the Friends of the Forest and the old Friends of the Forest got very excited about planting in every piece of public property they could, and that view is lost. We are Carmel-by-the-Sea, and I think that has to be kept in everyone's mind. Trees are not the only thing that are important to us. So when we're thinking of all this, I'd sure like to see more of a balance than some of our stuff gives the impression of.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Well, we plan next month to be bringing back the research we found on best practices and present it to everybody here and to the public. So hopefully we'll have more information and can discuss that. So with that, John is gone, I guess, and we will move to the August and September Foresters Report from Justin.
All right, thanks, everybody. Squeaky. So in terms of the Forest Master Plan, I feel like that's been discussed a lot already. So we distributed the first draft of the plan to the steering committee and have a public meeting planned on the 21st between 10 and 2 for us to go over it, fine tweak it before we send it to the CEQA analysis by Dudek, our consultant that's under contract.
Great.
It's all the way at the bottom here, but I want to start out with Renee Aldama. Will you come up to the podium, please? He's now was now acting assistant city forester. So we have help in the forestry division. And Renee has a lot of years' experience and is a certified arborist and has been already helping me immensely. We've put out 2 task orders for 71 dead, dying trees for pruning and removal that just went out this week. And we're hitting the ground running after bird season's over to start the work in earnest.
He's also increased the pace and scale of our replanting, so appreciate that.
Congrats.
Congratulations. Thank you.
So I know that some of you were involved in the fire defense plan and you saw it last meeting. We started that work with tree trimming for vehicle clearance in Mission Trail Park and escape route clearance on Santa Lucia. It's a little bit, don't freak out. It might be a little drastic at first, but it'll come back and it looks really nice and clean, especially going out of town. And as Melanie noted, we've been having issues with Comcast. So we're identifying illegal work that was done and getting together fines for TOPE to clean everything up.
Great.
And also with PG&E, we've been picking up a lot of logs. But, you know, the crew is working hard. It's hard now that, I love having Renee with us, but it's one less pair of hands, and I don't want to make him do everything. So they're still doing a lot. They removed 19 trees, planted 17 trees. We're starting to push that back because I've really noticed an increase in tree decline in mortality this year with like 2 years in a row of hotter, drier summers. Growing up here, you know, we have that summer fog, and the pines are just, I'm seeing a lot of bark beetles, and we're just trying to combat that with balancing what can stay and what needs to come out, and they've really been doing their best to keep up with the trees, and also with vehicle clearance, stop sign clearance, and all the little stuff that we do. And we'll get them back out to the North Dunes, and I'll have Town and Country out there. I'm very confident that we can meet those goals.
Thank you.
Last 2 months were pretty much similar with permits, 32 and 25. That's another thing that I'm hoping that Renee can help me out with, and he has been going out looking at trees in my stead, so we can streamline that process, try to reduce that 6 to 8 week time down, because we've just been so short-staffed, it's hard to get out to get eyes on stuff. The replanting has lacked a little bit, and we're trying to increase that by requiring more trees for city trees removed. Just try to get the overall canopy coverage back in line. And we did that a couple years ago because during the storms, it was kind of just go, go, go. And to rebalance that, trying to, instead of 1 for 1 on a tree, we end up having to take out a city tree, it's 3 to 1 or something, just to try to get those numbers back, to get our target back on track so we can meet them with our planting goals. And once again, the tickets, 194 to 166, it's been tough. There's been a lot of calls, and we've had some people have to miss time in the office, but we're doing the best we can, and just we're out here working all the time, and just hope you all see that.
I'd like to say I walked Santa Lucia probably a
think?
week ago. Lucy?
What do you think?
I thought it looked great.
Yeah, it does look great.
I thought it looked great. I think I used the word manicured and got me, but I'll say it looked maintained. It looked very nice. And I don't know, except for the one tree that I could see had some cuts in it. It just looked very maintained, so.
They probably just did it, so you probably saw it.
Yeah, I think it had just been done, but it looked very good, so thank you very much. It looked wonderful.
Yeah, I drive along Santa Lucia every day.
You live over there.
Every day, and it's a major improvement. Okay, so thanks. I would say you could still do more. But that's just me. There's a few more things that could go, but you did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I wanted to comment on the comment regarding PG&E and pruning the trees. I know when I lived in San Jose, I had a really large pecan tree, and it was by some high voltage lines, and every couple of years, PG&E would come out, or the contractors would come out, and they just kind of went like that.
Yeah.
And it was a constant battle. I would be out there when the contractors would show up, trying to get them to not just completely hack the trees. So I guess my questions are, is that kind of the modus operandi of PG&E here? Do we have any control over informing them or informing the subcontractors of how to actually better prune as opposed to this hardcore just cut, because that's what they're kind of incented to do?
It's very difficult. I know the places that I've known that have done that have kind of handle everything themselves, like Palo Alto distributes their own electricity. So that's in the contract. All the trucks have to be 5 years or newer, they have to be clean, and you have to round over every cut. But for general PG&E it's in their contract because they have the utility easement that goes along, and it's harder for pruning. I've made some actually headway recently in getting them to not remove trees, and that's what I'm really concentrating on, because a lot of the trees that have been pruned have already been pruned. It's just the maintenance, it's the removals that they're getting a little more aggressive on, and I had to shut one down because I felt it was unnecessary.
Good, glad to hear.
Okay, great. Anybody else have anything else?
Wasn't there, just on that topic, I think there is an upcoming meeting with the city and PG&E to talk
Correct.
about this, right? So I think
City
just for
does.
everybody's benefit, right?
Yeah.
I think it's been raised as a priority for the city, even,
Yeah.
and there's a plan to at least speak with the PG&E representative for this area.
Because they want
I think so.
They want to push everything through in one, like, they want like a yearly permit, that'll be like 300 trees, and I'm really trying to tell them, well, let's meet, I at least want to meet on the removals, just let's meet out there, or at least send them to me. For a while, they used to, and then for a while they weren't, it's like, they give me a Google Earth file and a spreadsheet, so I can at least look at them, and so I can say, no, there's no reason for that, or yeah, that's dead.
And it's all up on who PG&E contracts, right? They don't do it themselves, they have
Yeah.
contractors, and sometimes you have good ones that do, really consider, and you do have the ones that may be coming from out of state that go, the quick route. So we're trying to, Justin's really been on top of them and really communicating with them and like really trying to push this control and try to manage them appropriately.
Good.
On top of everything else he magically does.
Do we have any, would it be partnering with our immediately adjacent jurisdictions, like collectively working with PG&E? Would we have more impact?
Probably, I know
That's a good question.
I know the fire
They
department.
deal with us as a region, right? So the person who I think is coming to meet.
Yeah, my friend from PG asked me questions about that all the time. And he's like, wow, what do you do this? How do you deal with them like doing this? So, I think.
It's just a thought, right? Because they operate this area as a region. It would be nice if whatever jurisdictions were in that region, if we took the initiative to get together as a.
I think I'll try to, set up a meeting monthly.
All
at least.
interested parties in the same,
That's a great
right?
idea.
Right?
I like that idea a lot.
It would also have more muscle back, maybe.
Oh, big time. Even
Right.
getting the fire department involved, because they were complaining about work that PG&E did as well.
Yeah.
Good point.
Anything else?
Awesome.
Turn it to the public. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to say from the public or online? Vivette?
Nobody at this time.
Nobody? Okay. We'll move to the director's report. You gave a lot of.
Yes, anybody have any
reports with
questions
plan,
on the
but-
director's report? And I don't want to go through all the
Yeah.
items because
I
we
think
do
you
a
had
lot
a
of things. And I have Mary here to answer them. No, any questions?
I think you had some questions.
So I had two, and the second one depends on the answer to the first question.
Oh,
Okay.
be gentle.
Well, this may be naive, but I notice there's a lot of stuff in there that's not forest and beach related in your call out.
Yes.
And it's not his question, which is, does Forest and Beach care about that kind of stuff? Do we have jurisdiction over? I don't know.
What's an example?
Like the sewers capital project work, for example.
So this is my monthly report that not only the commission or council get, but the commissions get. So you're just getting a copy of that. So it's informative, so you know what's going on in the city as well.
Okay.
So that's pretty much what that's about.
Okay, so it's just there because.
Yes.
Because my second question was going to be, if we cared about it, it seems like you're doing a lot of work, which is great, but I don't know what the backlog would be. And so it's hard for me to kind of comment if there's a huge backlog, which would tell me, do we need more resources or are we prioritizing correctly? But I think you just kind of answered it. It's getting exposure.
And I like
at the same
what you're
time.
saying, because
Yeah.
I'd like to change that a little bit where it
Yeah.
has more of a metric report. But I'm working on that. as
Yeah,
I'm gathering, where am I at here?
Yeah, you're kind of busy.
Chasing it, but I appreciate the question. Thank you.
Okay.
We actually used to have the entire report read out every month.
Did you really?
Yes, we did. Look and that sort of changed with the transition because so much of it, as you're saying, wasn't applicable to this particular
Yeah.
commission. So now we can, if there's questions, I'm sure that
Yeah.
Director Wysocki is happy to answer, but
Most definitely.
instead of going through the whole director's report, monthly report. Does anybody else have any questions?
I
of the
do.
commission?
The 10th Street Stairs project, I don't see that on here. So is there a way, there's a little part at the end that
It's on
says,
there, but it's, I don't know if you see it, the 10th Avenue, and should be on the report saying where we're at right now. Should be in that
did
report.
I miss it?
It's in design.
It's in design. We have a draft design, 50% design. In fact, I had a meeting out there with the contractors yesterday, also with my new project manager, who's an engineer, to look at that design. We have questions on that design that we're going back and meeting next week with them to make sure we have a solid. My goal right now, looking at these stairs, as I was mentioning, I think I might have mentioned, if I didn't, I was thinking it, that I'm trying to get the stairs open and then look at the long-term work on it, because when I looked at the original, or a design plan was like, oh, tear it all down and rebuild the whole thing. Well, that's gonna be a lot more money and a little bit more permitting and more time. And I'm like, you know what? There's a lot that can be used, and there's things that need to be fixed that we can at least get it open for the public while we
great.
work on the long term. And that's what I'm working on.
That's good.
Good question.
and then just, maybe I missed it again, but I forget what we call it, the roadway that comes down
Oh, yes, the ramp, sand ramp.
Is
Yeah,
that
that's-
on here somewhere, and is that gonna be updated on how we are gonna continue? 'Cause I
Yeah,
think
that
your-
is still in the
right?
long term. We're still working on a design with our contractors, consultants, on what that would look like, how we're going to do that, so that it not only is put back, but can stay for a longer period of time, because
Doesn't get wiped
sea
out
level
by the
rise,
next storm.
climate change, everything is just affecting.
Which
and we-
section is it?
The 8th Avenue used to be
Oh,
the
yeah,
the ramp
yeah.
there.
Which I
Yeah,
used to
that
go
washed
up
it.
and
Yep.
down, yeah.
So can that get on here, just so even if nothing changes, that it
Sure,
gets reported on
sure,
every month?
most definitely, I'll
That'd be
do
great.
that, yep.
Yeah.
Very good question. One of the things I want to point out also in the director's report is, one of the things that we're delaying on our CIP, which is a lot of scenic pathway work that's in our CIP. And the only reason I want to hold off on some of that work is because if you've seen, COD is doing construction down, and they're going to be going down the road, which is going to, if we have that at the same time as that, it's just going to be total chaos. And it could even affect, the work that we do. So let's get that work done. They already started their process, so then we can start ours afterwards and be successful.
Great. Okay, good. Anybody in the public like to make any comments?
Can you speak to the mic? Thanks.
Thank you very much for, Tamara, for allowing the public to speak regarding the work programs, because the work programs are extremely important. And, these the monthly reports are really so informative for the public, those of us who are into that kind of thing. And I think that, Ken, your new approach is really outstanding, and I want to thank you, because it's extremely readable, very complete, very terse and concise, but we get a heck of a lot of information. And Justin, yours are very, very good too, very, very thorough. And, I, for one, really appreciate both of what you're doing. And Ken, your first report to us when you came on board was truly outstanding, to really bring everybody up to date on where we are, what you saw as priorities and everything. And very, very useful. and I still have a copy of it. And Justin, I keep your monthly copies. So they are important, and it's just too bad more people in the community don't know and recognize how much work is being really done and the tremendous accomplishments that you guys make every single month. Some of them aren't as noticeable as staircases, but they're equally as important, like the drainage and so forth. So I just, really want to thank you for that. And just one question. Why are we doing 71 trees? In your report, Justin, 71 trees that we're supposed to be taking down? I mean, are those really, huh? And pruning, oh, okay, so it's not as bad as it sounds. Right. Okay, so that's good, and thank you both for your hard work on PG&E and Comcast, because some people, some sections of town might not experience the ravages of them, but I want to thank you, Commissioner Ruda, for your comments, because they really mirror mine. And thank you, Justin, for taking care of that tree in our neighborhood. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Melanie. Yvette, do we have anyone online?
No one at this time.
Okay.
So Tamara, I had one more for Ken.
Oh, sure.
And it leads back to the forest management plan, so I hope it's okay to ask. But when you said this was a 14-page plan, but there's more. Yes. There's more you're going to add to this. Kind of, what did you mean, and when will we see that?
Go ahead.
Have you read the 2001 plan?
Yeah.
It's like about 14 pages, and the rest of that meat is appendixes. So we'll have the plan, and then we can add all the extra stuff after the fact. We can switch it out, put that back in. The tree list will be an appendix to this.
So there's nothing that's going to change about this draft. It's really appendix?
Yes.
Is that what you meant?
Yeah, I mean, there might be some minor changes to some of the draft based on
Our steering committee meeting and.
But
Okay.
it's mostly, that.
But what we got, the
wanna put
draft
in
is,
there to
that's
make
pretty
it-
solid.
Yes, yes, sir.
And it'll be appendix stuff that gets
Yes.
added. Okay.
Yes.
Good question. Okay. Any future agenda items?
I have one.
Yes.
I don't know how this would come together, but I recall that there were things, it came up in the last, beach presentation where that was the one, it might have been your first day of work, Ken, on the plans, the grant we have running with the Coastal Commission for what we need on the beach for climate change. But in that meeting, it specifically was mentioned that we used to do things every winter that were sort of like beach hardening prior to the storms. And there were steps that we used to take as a city to help protect the beach through the winter. And those, when it was asked, well, why did we stop that? The response was, well, we didn't have budget for it anymore. So I'd like to know, what did we used to do? What were the city's best practices for beach hardening prior to the winter season? And what would those cost if we were to re-implement them? And is that something we should be looking at,
Good.
restarting for the
Yes.
city?
Very good
Because it
question.
seems like they were just dropped, and those are things that might be helpful. There were specific tasks, I don't know if, some of it was moving sand, there were just different things that were used as examples in that
Revetment work.
meeting. And it just seems like if it would be useful to understand, what did we used to do and what did we stop? And are any of those things, would they be beneficial to reinitiate?
Maybe talk to Rob even. 'cause
Yeah, we'll
he's
talk
been-
about, now that we have a new skid steer,
Yes. We have a lot more equipment now.
we've got more equipment now to do some work, so and they've been doing that, doing some work. So I think,
It's
I'm gonna
been
talk
put
to
to
Rob,
use. They've been pushing a lot of sand. They used it to put the chips out of Mission Trail, so it's.
So
But I'll
as
find
an
out.
agenda item, I'd love to
Yes.
to see a report on
Yes.
what did we used to do and what would that cost in terms of dollars?
Got it.
And were any of them stopped for
Whatever
good reason,
reason.
right? But should it sounded like some of those things were helpful for winter hardening.
Most
Does that
of
include
The thing I,
removing driftwood and stuff like that?
Yes, Sarah, do you remember?
The thing I notice is that the south end of the beach is so much wetter than I think it used to be at this time, and we haven't even approached the winter yet.
Yeah.
I don't know what made the difference, so it'd be interesting to see if there's anything.
Yes.
Yeah, and with the little gullies
Yeah.
of
little
water.
Strips of,
Strips
little
of,
rivers on the beach.
that
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
smell very good. Right. Yeah,
you.
that's a good point. Thank you. That's excellent,
Yeah, I just think that was,
excellent timing too,
That would be good.
Commissioner.
Okay.
So I have one thing for future that you and I are talking about a little bit is beach signage. Signage for, starting on scenic, and then what do we need kind of on the beach? So I think we're still working with Carmel Cares on that to find out what they are. So hopefully soon we'll have a presentation on that.
Commissioner Ross and I met with Carmel Cares, and so we're anticipating a presentation coming forward in the next month, I would imagine.
Good.
On that, so I'm excited.
Yes.
Anything else?
building on the signage, which I think is
Oh, yeah.
great. I would just say there are a number of things that we're not like enforcing or compliant with relative to our beach that would be lovely to see. For example, we're not supposed to have tent structures, we're not supposed to have, so if you know, some days you can't even see the water. There's, when it's a crowded weekend. So I just, at any rate, I just think it, as we think about that, perhaps we can also consider making sure that we have signage that reflects the ordinances that we presently have and that we're doing our best to maintain the beach.
Yeah.
We still have an ordinance, since we
Right.
see so many now, and families certainly enjoy them.
We are anticipating a presentation next month. I think that's an excellent question. Perhaps we can pose that one because they are in the process of putting together their signage, and I think that's a really good point. So perhaps that's something you can mention next month too.
If you look at the city's website, right, you're supposed to have a permit.
Right.
For a
Right.
tent?
And for umbrellas, I think there's only a certain, what's the rule on, yeah. Okay, that's a good one for next month. Okay, anything else? Okay, let's adjourn the meeting at
Good job.
4:23.
All right, we're starting vacation now.
Oh, that's right, you're going to.
I won't forget, yeah.
I'm gonna be off for a few days.